Hey guys, welcome to the All Sports Pass Podcast North. I'm your host, X Creek Lex, and welcome to another SEC schedule predictions video where today I'm going to be covering the Florida Gators schedule and give predictions on it. Before we get in this video, you already know we got to start off with the verse of the day. And a little disclaimer on here, this verse was actually from yesterday that I really wanted to share because it was 4th of July. But however, unfortunately, me making the video yesterday did not work out, so I'm gonna say yesterday's versus today's, and I decided to put a little emphasis on today's, and it's from 2 Corinthians 3:17, where it says, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Amen to that. And also, guys, before we end this video, keep in mind these are my predictions. These are what I think is going to happen over the course of the season. And feel free to leave your own predictions down in the comments down below. I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of you. And without further ado, leave a like, subscribe for more SEC schedule predictions and more college football content. Without further ado, let's begin. So for Florida, they're coming into this season following a 5-7 season and going 3-5 overall in the SEC. Of course, week 1, they lose to Utah, who was number 14 at the time, at Utah by a score 24-11. Then the next week they play McNeese at home, and of course they get a 49-7 win. And then the next week they upset number 11 Tennessee by a score of 29-16. And then the next week they're ranked number 25, and then they play Charlotte where they win 22-7. And then they play Kentucky the next week, and they lost that game. By a score of 33-14, and they're ranked number 22 before officially getting dropped out of the standings after this game. And then the next week they played Vanderbilt, which was a win, and then they played South Carolina where they barely won, and then of course they lose the rest of their games. And here's what I think about Florida, heading in here, and this is from the Football Time in Tennessee magazine. On the 2024 Football Times SEC predictions, Florida is ranked number 12, and here's what it says. The Gators are another difficult team to predict because they lose a lot of their key players each year via the transfer portal. This year they have a difficult schedule as they play Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. And it could be another long year for Billy Napier's Gators. So really for Florida, let's see who they have returning as a notable for themselves. Let's see who they have returning. So they have 16 offensive starters returning, 7 defensive stars returning, 6 specialists. I am so sorry. Let me wind it back. I read the number wrong. They actually have 7 offensive players coming back, 6 defense players coming back, and 3 specialists coming back. Sorry guys. There's a 16 in parentheses here, and I accidentally read off that. So please forgive me there. Their key returnees are left tackle Austin Barber, center Jake Slaughter, right tackle Damian George Jr., quarterback Graham Mertz, running back Montrell Johnson Jr., tight end Hayden Hanson, wide receiver Eugene Wilson III, defensive end Caleb Banks, nose tackle Cam Jackson, defensive tackle Tyreek Sapp, linebacker Shamir James, cornerback Jason Marshall Jr., free safety Jordan Castile, punter Jeremy Crenshaw, kicker Trace Mack, and long snapper Rocco Underwood. Now for Florida, let's see what I think is going to happen this season for them. So for week 1, they're going to be playing the University of Miami, and this is a rivalry, and it's originally, the winning team was formerly awarded the Seminole War Canoe Trophy, and now today it's the round robin winner of the 3 biggest schools in the state of Florida, which is the Gators, the Florida State Seminoles, or the Miami Hurricanes. They received the Florida Cup for beating the other 2 schools the same season, and the two teams between these two will play 2024 and 2025. And so heading in here, let's see what. So I'm sorry, let me wind it back here a little bit. So for Miami, they, however, are going to be playing. So it's going to be So it looks like the Florida Cup's going to be handed out this year because of the fact they're playing Florida and Florida State this year. And so for last year for Miami, they ended up, going 7-6 as well as a 3-5 overall record in the ACC, and they lost 31-24 in the Pinstripe Bowl versus Rutgers. And let's see what. And I just think, of course, heading in here, Miami's going to try to look for revenge. That's what they're going to try to do. Now, last season was a pretty good season for them. And I just think that heading on in here, I just think that heading in here, we just let me wind it back a little bit. I think heading in here, this game is going to be a fun one to watch, and I just really think that. Of course, do I think that with Florida? Do I think that Florida having the home advantage will mean some? I don't think so, really. I just think, of course, that Miami is going to do everything they can because, hey, they want that Florida Cup, and one step of the way to do it is by beating Florida. So here's what I'm going to say. I actually think that this game is a toss-up. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But however, I'm going to be honest here. I really don't know because this game is a toss-up, like I just said. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I may give this one to Florida because why not? We've seen upsets happen in college football, and this is an opportunity. But however, reality, Miami can win it, Florida can win it. It's just a toss-up. You really don't know. But however, of course, I'm just going to say that heading in here, if Florida can pull it off, it would be good. So, but when they have the home advantage, I think it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm going to give this one to Florida because, hey, why not? It's week 1. It's a toss-up game. You really don't know until you know. And, yeah. So next week, they're playing Samford, and really there's not much to say here. Samford is an FCS team, and for those who don't know, FCS is the Football Championship Subdivision. And of course, teams like Florida and like the Power 4 conferences, SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and as well as the other conferences in FBS, they're in their football bowl subdivision. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. And it's going to be interesting to see let me wind it back a little bit. So I just think that with this being an FCS game, I think Florida's going to do it. Now, of course, we have seen FCS upsets in the past, and I do think that, of course, the most notable one is 2007 App State at number 5 Michigan, where they upset the number 5 Michigan where App State upset the number 5 Michigan Wolverines and won that game 34-32, and ended up with that loss causing Michigan to go unranked the next week, and it was crazy. But I just think that, of course, that this should be an easy win for Florida, so I'm going to give this one to Florida. And now the next game is against Texas A&M, and here's what I think. I think that A&M, of course, they're coming to Florida, and I just think that, of course, heading in here, it's going to be hard to see what A&M can do. And now, of course, speaking of A&M, I haven't done that video yet, and I'm depending on. It's going to depend on what I'm doing next. But however, here's what the Football Times predictions for the Aggies are. The Aggies are another SEC team with a new head coach, Mike Elko, and he was hired to get the Aggies back in the title contention, but it may not happen this year. He has his injured quarterback, Connor Wegman, returning, plus his outstanding wide receiver, Moose Muhammad. Since Elko excels as defensive coach, the Aggie defense should be strong. Now, personally, I do think that I'm going to say this, that it happens both sides of the ball to win games, but I'm a firm believer that defense wins championships. And now, of course, it depends on, how you can structure your defense and how this defense can get some stops. It's going to be yet to be seen, of course, heading into this season because, hey, it's a new season, new beginning. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. However, I'm just going to say this, that if A&M can do good this season, because keep in mind, before I'm saying this, as I'm saying this, I'm doing this because I'm doing this video before the A&M video. I'm saying that heading in here, A&M's going to be playing Notre Dame week 1, which should, I think, be a loss to them. Then they're going to be playing McNeese before they play Florida, which so they should be coming in this game 1-1. However, I just think that A&M should. I'm sorry, Florida. Honestly, I think they can win this one. It just depends on what how A&M does during their first 2 games, especially in the third game as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I think with just the home advantage, I'm going to give this one to Florida. So I'm going to give that one to the Gators. The next game, they're playing Mississippi State, and here's what I'm saying, that Mississippi State hasn't really been as strong of a team in recent years. So really, I think that heading in here, and the times, in the football time predictions actually have them finishing 13th, and it says the Bulldogs are another SEC team with a new head coach, Jeff Lebby. He'll be relying on 2 transfers, quarterback Blake Shapen and tight end Cameron Ball to lead the Bulldogs offense. Could be a tough year for Mississippi State as their roster is without much needed depth and experience. Really, that's all I really think right there. I really think that, of course, according to this, that Mississippi State at this point in the season might still be having some issues with depth. So here's what I'm going to say. If they're still struggling with their depth and the experience, it should be a win for Florida at Mississippi State. It just should be a win. So I'm going to give this one to the Gators. And then next week, they're playing UCF. And for UCF, they're coming in to this season following a 6-7 season where they also appeared in a bowl game, the Gasparilla Bowl, where they lost 30-17 to Georgia Tech. And I really think that for UCF, now on their wins, they had Kent State's win. They won against Boise State. They won against Villanova, who was FCS. They also won against Cincinnati, and they won against Oklahoma State, who was ranked number 15 at the time. And they end up, of course, beating Houston as well. Now, I really think I think UCF, this is a game that I think UCF would want to win. Let me wind it back a little bit. I think UCF, of course, being in the Big 12, and I also think Florida being an SEC, it's going to be SEC. Now, of course, because I actually think that with UCF being in the Big 12 and Florida in the SEC, it's a Big 12 SEC matchup. And these are kind of fun to watch, in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this, though, that I think Florida should be able to win this one. It just should happen. So I'm going to give this one to Florida. And next game, they're playing at Tennessee. And now I will say this, that last year, 2 years before, in 2022, Tennessee was able to hold off a Georgia comeback by a score 38-33 at Neyland. And let me tell you this, the next year, it looked like Tennessee was favored to win it, but however, unfortunately, it didn't go that way, where Florida won by a score of 29-16. But hey, I'll tell you this right here. Let me tell you. The Gators are going to Rocky Top this year, and Neyland's one of the toughest places to play. So I really think that, of course, if Tennessee's going to win against Florida, it's going to be at Neyland. And I think this year is going to be a win for Tennessee. And I just think that, of course, with Tennessee, I just think that heading in here, and on the Football Times SEC predictions, Tennessee, to have a great team, you must have a great quarterback plus other things. While the Vols have enough other things challenged, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas for the SEC title remains to be seen. The Vols should be an exciting team to watch. I really think that, of course, that the Vols have many notable returnees, and I'm going to go top 3 that are my opinion. You got Nico Maliava, you got Brew McCoy, and Squirrel Wright. And you also have James Pierce as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do this season. But I'm going to go with the Vols on this one. All right, and then the next week, Florida's playing Kentucky. And I will say this, that Kentucky upset Florida last year, back when Florida was ranked. And what I mean by that is the fact that Florida was ranked number 22 at the time, and for Kentucky, they end up beating Florida, and then they get ranked at number 20, and then they play Georgia. Kentucky played Georgia the next week, and I just think that, and then of course they lose to Georgia, but however I do think that of course for Kentucky, I think this game honestly can be a win. I just think it is for Kentucky, so I'm going to give this one to the Wildcats here. I just think it's going to happen over here, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go with a Kentucky win. All right, and then the next game is against Georgia, and also this game is also, if you all notice on the screen, it says Jacksonville. This is a neutral site game, and I do think, of course, and it's actually happening at Everbank Stadium, which is the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I also think that this rivalry is going to be pretty good, but however, is really good, to say the least. But I just think, can I see Florida winning this game? I just don't think so. I just think that, of course, Georgia is going to do everything they can to be back at number one, and I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I'm going to give this one to Georgia here. In this game, they're playing SEC newcomer at Texas, who actually, along with Oklahoma, joined actually a few days ago, and officially joined. And I just think that Texas, of course, that they came off a strong season, but they lost to the national championship runner-ups, Washington Huskies, in the Sugar Bowl by a score 37-31. And they're also the Big 12 champion last year. However, I think Texas is just a different animal for a team like Florida. Of course, they also get Quinn Ewers back, so it's going to be interesting to see what this game holds as well. But however, I just think that Texas should also be able to get the win here, so I'm going to give this one to Texas. And then the next game, they're going to be playing LSU, and I just think that with LSU now, I understand there's a lot of hype around LSU, but I'm going to say this, that for LSU, I just don't really think that for LSU. They lost a lot of good players, really. So it's really to see what they can do. But of course, you're heading into the last part of the season, really. So it's going to see how LSU fares during the course of the season. But however, I'm going to say this, that LSU should be able to beat Florida, but however, I don't know how well LSU would do. But however, I just think I'm going to do this. I may as well just give this one to LSU, because I think, of course, LSU might be able to pull it off, but it's going to be interesting to see what this game holds. So I'm going to give this one to LSU. And then next week, they're going to be playing Ole Miss. And I'm going to say this, that Ole Miss has surprised me last year. They finished 11-2, as well as a bowl win. And hold on, let me get that bowl for you real quick. And that bowl win was the Peach Bowl, where they won 38-25 over Penn State. And they also went 6-2 in the SEC, and those two losses were to Alabama and Georgia. And I just think that of course, Ole Miss, they're going to try everything they can to continue the success from that season. So I'm going to give this one to Ole Miss, because I think Ole Miss is going to be a strong team as well. All right, and then the next game is at Florida State. It's the Sunshine Showdown, and I'll tell you what, I actually want to watch this game. It just depends if I'll be able to. But however, I think the Sunshine Showdown is going to be a fun one to watch. And I really think that, of course, I really want to see what's going to happen during that game. So I'm going to try my best to watch it, because, I just think that I think it's going to be really interesting, because, it should be sorry, let me wind it back. Sorry, I was talking gibberish for a little bit there. I am so sorry. I just think that, of course, this rivalry is a good one, and I just can't wait to see what this year's showcase holds. So now here, I'm actually going to tell you this. Let's see who leads the series. And Florida, let me check here. Florida leads 38-27-2. And the last time this game was played, the last two times this game was played, Florida State won both times. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So, really, I think it could be a toss-up, but here's what I'm going to say. I think if Florida State can rebound from the season they had last season, of course, they had a great season, but unfortunately, when they lost Jordan Travis, unfortunately, it ended up not going it ended up going downhill. And, of course, that embarrassing 63-3 loss in that bowl game to Georgia. And so it's going to be nice to see what they can do. So, but however, I think Florida State, honestly, is going to win this one. So I'm going to give this one to Florida State. And, all right, so that's going to finish the video tonight. If y'all like this video, leave a like, subscribe for more college football content, more SEC schedule predictions. And keep in mind that these are my predictions. These are what I think is going to happen over the course of the season. And feel free to leave your predictions in the comments down below. I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of you. All right, peace out. God bless, and good night.